Okay, we're talking about stress now. This is the one. Are we or are we not in a recession? I want to know. Now, look, people laid off, unemployment, inflation up. We've got the FTSE gone down, something called a bear pit, whatever that may mean. 20% down on its high of October last year. Kath, answer the question.
Well, I can't, but hopefully the person we're going to speak to in just a moment will be able to give us a clearer answer. But just to go through some of the stuff, Eddie, the British Chamber of Commerce, BCC's quarterly report found the credit crunch and rising costs have dented the most important sectors of our economy, all hinting toward the R word. It comes as falling shares in banks, house builders and retailers dragged, as you've just said, the FTSE 100 near a bear market. Bull's good, bear's bad. Jonathan Davis, financial guru, joins us now, financial expert. Jonathan?
Good evening.
Can I ask you the question?
You have work to do, sir.
Are we in recession?
Technically, it's hard to tell. What I mean by that is, in retrospect, we'll look back and we'll see whether or not we've seen falling economic growth, gross domestic product, GDP. And if we see negative growth for 2 consecutive quarters, in other words, we're in the third quarter now and the fourth quarter at the end of the year, then in retrospect we'll say, yes, we've had a recession.
So technically we are not in a recession as of yet.
Well, we don't know that. That's what I'm saying. We won't know until January next year. But you know what? The issue is irrelevant whether or not it's technical, because that's just economists speaking. People are being laid off right now. People are finding it very difficult to pay their mortgages. Food costs are going up, fuel costs, heat and light, you name it. It feels like a recession, and I'll tell you what, it ain't going to get any easier.
If it feels like one and it looks like one, guess what?
And it squawks like a duck.
Right. Jonathan, I've got to ask you then, because there is a school of thought that we're talking ourselves into this. We're making things worse because, as consumers, because we're battening down the hatches because of the fear that's been spread around liberally, then we're not spending, thus we're affecting service industries and they're closing down, and I could go on, so on and so forth.
Well, I don't agree with that school of thought, because that implies that you can have a school of thought which says you can build a growth period, similarly you can build a negative period. Well, no. It's the economics which determines what's happening. You could say it's about sentiment, but sentiment is because of economics. The fact is, we've got the highest fixed-rate mortgages in 10 years. We've got rising home repossessions. We've got rising unemployment. We've got rising cost of living. And yet, we don't have significantly rising wages. No, it feels bad, and it's going to continue to feel bad for 2 or so years. Let's just accept it and move on.
But Jonathan, hang on. Whoa.
With your 80 grand salary, you could say that. What about the rest of us?
And also, we're not in the same situation we were in the 1980s. We're just not.
You're right. It's even worse.
How so?
Yeah, of course. Well, of course it is. Yeah. First of all, it wasn't the 80s. It was the early 90s. In the early 90s, for example, house prices fell 15% over a 5-year period. They've already fallen 5% in the last 12 months. And the house price crash has hardly even started. Unemployment does not happen before a house price crash. It happens after a house price crash, whatever the vested interests might want to tell you. By the way, I don't have an £80,000 salary. I am an economist, I'm an investment advisor, and I've been saying for the past couple of years that there's going to be trouble, and we're in the trouble right now.
Okay,
it's global, it's not just the UK, we're just getting ours now.
John, will you just wait a few minutes? I've got to take the news, but I just want to ask for some practical help for some people. You available for a few more minutes?
Sure, by all means.
Thanks very much.
This is Drive Time with Eddie and Kath Melandri.
Your views on London's news.
Weekdays from 5 on BBC London 94.9.
Jonathan Davis is on the line. He's a financial expert and a doomsayer. How are you, Jonathan?
We're okay. Our clients have been okay because we've been planning for this for the past couple of years.
Okay, now I'm not going to ask you what we should be doing. I'm going to ask you what you personally have done.
One thing that we now do is rent a property. We don't have a mortgage, and we rent at, this is possibly quite complex, we rent at a cost of just 2.5% of the value of that property. The fact is that's much, much, much cheaper than it would have cost us had we been buying this property. On the similar basis, the money that we would have had as a deposit in a property that we apparently bought, we've now got it in the bank earning interest. That's one of the things we've done, and it's quite a major thing.
So you believe, in terms of house prices, it has to fall how much more?
Well, they've gone up by 300 or 400% in the last 15 years. And our forecast since last year has been a roughly 35% fall by 2011-12. And that will take us back to about 2002-2003 levels.
So anybody listening to this, let's not just talk about homeowners, because not everybody in London is a homeowner.
Fine.
What is the one piece of advice that you would give to people now? We're not in it yet, or we don't know that we're in a recession, but we know that things have gone up, and we know that our wages haven't gone up commensurate with that.
Well, we have to reduce our spending. We have to batten down the hatches and put on a tin hat, expecting the worst. And one simple thing that everyone can do, without naming names, we can all go and shop in the lower cost supermarkets. I gather that will save 30% on the weekly shopping basket.
We're already doing it, sir. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Jonathan, in the next week or so, will you come in and see us, sit down, and we can battle this thing out and see if we can help some people? Is that all right?
Of course, absolutely.
Thanks very much. Jonathan Davis, financial expert there.